Megan Fox.
What Megan has created is this amazing fantasy world that really caters to the core of her audience.
She captured worldwide attention in the blockbuster sensation Transformers.
That's when people said, "Who is that girl?" She was named on every hot list, every Maxim magazine, this is the hottest girl around.
She's held people's attention with flashy photo shoots and racy interviews.
Megan has a reputation that she started, that she's a little bit of a bad girl and that she loves sex and she's a little bit promiscuous.
Did you get to decide? You better pen down and get the side of this dress.
I curse and I've made mention of sex before. And I make jokes about it, which people find outrageous.
Megan Fox can be perceived in any number of ways depending on who you speak with.
I feel like everything that comes out of my mouth becomes sensationalized by the media.
Being a sex symbol is almost like being a product, like a can of Coke or something. How much of that is fabricated, how much of that is real, I'd never be able to tell you. She's a very interesting personality that way.
She's the puzzle that fascinates pop culture pundits. She's the enigma.
By the time Megan Fox was 22, she was a sex symbol.
Everybody was Googling her. Everybody was looking at pictures of her.
People knew her as the hot vixen from the first two Transformers films. She was about to star in a teen horror flick called Jennifer's Body.
When Megan was doing publicity for Jennifer's Body, she told a story about having had an affair with a female stripper. And of course, the press went wild, the internet exploded, and people were like, what? She's bisexual, what's going on here?
It was a very elaborate story. This stripper named Nikita, who worked at a club called The Body Shop, and that she would go and she would get lap dances so that Nikita, she would get to know her better. She would tell her things like, you're better than this, you can do more.
Wow, did it ignite a lot of discussion and talk in the Hollywood community about that?
Nikita is not real. Nikita is a personality that Megan made up, and she said that she was, kind of playing a game with this reporter.
It was a story that left fans wondering what's real and what's not when it comes to Megan Fox. Megan Fox was born May 16, 1986, into a world far different from Hollywood. Her family had a small home in Rockwood, Tennessee, an 8-square-mile town with a population of around 5,000 people.
Her father was a parole officer, and her parents separated when she was young, and they eventually divorced.
With her dad, Franklin, out of the picture, Megan spent most of her time living in an imaginary world created by Hollywood.
I most vividly remember The Wizard of Oz. I wanted to be Dorothy for many years of my life, and I made my mom call me Dorothy. I wouldn't answer her or listen to her if she called me Megan, because that wasn't my name, for about a year, from 5 to 6.
When Megan's mom told her Dorothy was really an actress, Megan made up her mind about her future.
I always told my mother that I wanted to be an actress, and I think maybe it started with Judy Garland and Wizard of Oz, but I've just never had any desire to do anything else, and I'm not really sure why. She said from that point on, I knew I wanted to be an actress. So her mother was pretty supportive of this. She took dance lessons, she was in choir, she did a ton of activities.
She would put on little performances in the living room. She would dance, she would act, and she put on these shows all the time from the time she was a young girl.
Megan maintained her interest in acting, even though her home life was changing. Her mother married Tony Tanacchio, And when Megan was 10, the family moved to Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Port St. Lucie has a small town atmosphere. Not like New York, it's not like Miami. It's a sprawling small town.
Here, Megan continued to pursue acting.
She was in numerous theater productions, one of which was Godspell at the Lyric Theater, which is a well-known theater in Stuart, Florida. And to be able to perform on stage there is quite an honor.
When Megan was 13, she entered a talent and beauty competition, which put contestants through mock auditions.
She won 2 first place, 1 in television commercial and 1 in photography, and 3 other honorable mentions. Those were big awards, and after she won those awards, her mother said, we have to go for this. We've got to go full steam ahead and see what she can do, see if she can make it in this business.
When you're 12, 13, 14, 15, you're doing a lot of catalog. You'll get the occasional cereal commercial or the grocery store family type of spot. In one case, I brought Megan in for a film project, which was short film that matches a high school writer with a famous director, and in this case it was David Frankel, who directed Devil Wears Prada. She definitely stood out. David said, love to use her, but she's so beautiful. I don't want to offend anybody. I mean, I don't want to cause a scene.
Megan didn't get that part, but she did catch a lot of flack from her peers for wanting to be a star.
Port St. Lucie at the time was a smaller town. They weren't used to actors and models in the neighborhood. Going to school and seeing someone that's also in a magazine or on a commercial or on a TV show, people are scared of what they don't understand, and they can be cruel about it.
When you're growing up in high school, other girls, they don't like beautiful girls talking about how they're going to be famous and rich and being, big Hollywood starlets one day.
She wasn't that popular in her high school. She said that people used to throw ketchup packets and mustard packets at her, and sometimes she would take her tray and take it to the restroom and eat there. She said that, high school, they're like vultures. Once someone senses that you're the weak one, everyone preys on you.
To make matters worse, Megan worked at a fruit smoothie stand where she had to dress up like a banana.
There was a whole circle cut out, so you could see her face, you could see clearly who she was. High school students used to come by, drive by, back and forth, and yell obscenities at her.
Megan also had problems at home.
Megan was raised very modestly. She was raised by her mother and her stepfather, who, by her own admission, were very, very strict. They would not let her date at all.
Her stepfather was very religious. He was Pentecostal, and she talks about that and about how she always wanted to rebel just because she didn't like authority.
She was never allowed to have friends over at her house. She was never allowed to have boyfriends. And, she kind of was alone most of the time.
Megan rebelled against her strict parents.
She used to dress like a Barbie doll. She would wear the smallest clothes possible, and she wanted to dye her hair blonde, and her mother said, not a good idea. You're a brunette, that's what makes you special. And she said, well, but I still put sun in my hair. It was Florida, and I had orange hair for 2 years. She would sneak out of the house. She said she was inventive. She would tie bed sheets together and climb out of her second-floor bedroom window. She said one time she wanted to get out so bad she just jumped.
When you spend a lot of time in your formative years alone or in a very strict household, you just want to rebel, and everything feels a little bit like a push. And I'm sure that's how she felt when she was growing up.
Megan would soon have a chance to rebel against her family's conservative values and express her sex appeal thanks to director Michael Bay.